A man who had sulfuric acid thrown over him is calling on the government to take a tougher stance on chemical attacks.
Yes, Andreas Christopheros was left blind in one eye after the attack in December 2014. As you can imagine, he has something to say about last week's chemical attack in London.
And he joins us now. So, Andreas, what about when you heard of this attack in Clapham last week? How did it make you feel?
Good morning. It's always distressing to see such attacks. This one in particular, when there's children involved, it's harder to read, and it's shocking we're having these level of attacks still in the UK.
Why were you attacked?
I was attacked in 2014 in a case of mistaken identity when my attacker David Phillips drove from Hastings to Cornwall, knocked on my front door, and threw a pint of sulfuric acid in my face. He said, "This is for you, mate." He did turn up at the wrong house.
And then how do you live with that, especially, Andreas, knowing it wasn't meant to be you?
It's not been easy. I've been known to deal with it fairly well. I haven't let it beat me. I have very much a different life now than what I did before. It affects every waking and sleeping aspect of my life. There's no getting away from it. There's no hiding from it.
And we can see a picture of you there outside the Ministry of Justice. You've turned your sort of positive attitude into action, and you want to see tougher sentences for anybody carrying any sort of substance. In your case, it was acid. In the case last week in Clapham, it was alkaline, but effectively has the same effect on the skin. What do you want to see change in terms of the law?
So I've been campaigning now for many years. My attacker had his sentence overturned at the appellate court. He originally had life with a minimum term of 8 years. But at the Court of Appeal, 3 judges deemed him not to be a dangerous man and lifted life from his sentence. Following that, I have been campaigning ultimately for what I feel are flaws in the justice system and better powers for the police. And recently, the last few years, I've teamed up with Katie Piper and we've been campaigning together. We are asking for tougher sentences. We don't feel the sentences that are given for these crimes match the severity of the injuries. We also would like to see a decanting legislation where it's an offence to decant concentrated acids and alkalines into an unmarked bottle. We'd also like to see the government abolish their 2-strike policy, where you will face jail time if you're caught carrying for a second time out in public. Why do you need to carry acids out in public? You don't. We'd also like to see judges have a better understanding of the injuries. I think in my situation, the judges did not understand the long-term implications of an acid attack, and I don't think a sentence yet has been given to a perpetrator that really fits the crime.
Andreas, can I ask you to speculate, just given your unique experience of this? I mean, nobody has seen this guy, Abdul Azadi, since Wednesday night, 2 hours after the attack. From the pictures that we can see, it looks like he suffered serious injury to his eye, not dissimilar to the injuries that you suffered. I mean, what sort of impact will that have on his health if he hasn't sought medical attention? I mean, do you think he can survive that without a doctor, especially given the area of his face around his eye? I mean, presumably that could be terribly infected very easily.
Yeah, I'm not an expert. I can't talk as a doctor would, but you know, the biggest risk of any injury, especially when you're dealing with burns, and whether that's a burn, I don't know, is the risk of infection. And if he's not going to get medical assistance, then yeah, that risk of infection is getting higher and higher all the time.
Well, thank you for talking to us, Andreas, and good luck with your continuing campaign. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Andreas Christopheros there, a victim of an acid attack, a mistaken victim as well.